All right, so I think we're back and up and running here. Welcome everybody. So I was just working on this shirt. If you were here a little bit ago. Ooh, got some fuzz on my mic. Yeah, so we're trying to get some stuff done on our shirt here. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I'll give some time for some of you to get back in here. I think audio levels are good. I'm not gonna worry about them. It just looks like they're a little bit high, but I'm gonna continue to work on this shirt. I'm working on adding some asymmetry to our sleeves, and now combining these forms from our sleeves into our shirt, getting that to flow really nicely, getting that to be blended in there, looking good all around, and then just also focusing on cleaning up a lot of this. So I'm going to use some Z-remeshing here. Delete that old geometry, and let's just get in here and do some Z-remeshing to try to clean this up. Normally I would use keep groups, but I think at this point I don't really think it matters. We can do it at first just to see the result, but I think it's going to be more of a headache than we want to deal with, where our just standard Z-remesh will probably be fine. Let's just try it. I mean, it's not going to hurt to try, right? And go from there. All right. Well, we'll give that a second to calculate, and hello! Welcome everybody. Welcome back, I should say, hopefully for a few of you. Working on a good old goober. I was mentioning earlier, I don't know if all of you were around, but I would like to maybe focus on looking at some stuff for 3D printing. So if you guys are familiar with setting up keys, I think there would be a really cool instance of me doing a little demonstration here on one of our feet, probably this back one, because it gives me an opportunity to talk about how we can set up some other stuff for 3D printing and where some problem areas might be. But we'll let that finish calculating. This is another reason why I don't want to Z-remesh with groups. It's because it's really slow, and especially for something like this, I have a bunch of polygroups, so it's going to have to calculate quite a lot. Let that do its thing. Error! And we get an error. So it goes that whole time and gives us an error. Cool, perfect. Fantastic. I'm just going to turn that off and not even worry about it. So I guess we'll just polygroup all and try a Z-remesh once more. Oh, it's gonna crash on me. No, it's not. All right. I just want to toggle this off as well so it doesn't try to calculate extra stuff and take twice as long. Let's see here. Ahsoka Zoka. What a name. Thank you for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. And welcome everybody else that's just popping in. How you guys doing? What time is it where you are? Right now it is 3:40 p.m. EST, Eastern side of the US. That was so much faster, and we also didn't have a bunch of crashes, so that's just beautiful. Man, these arms are all over the place. I'm just going to subdivide and start projecting up through my subdivs. And I'll just do this maybe 3 times. Let's see, 4 would put us at around 500,000. Maybe 1 more. We'll see how it goes. And then we can look, what I would like to do is a quick pass on just like general kind of overview stuff, and then do a little bit of a demonstration. And I think that'll give us enough time. Some more people are popping in. That'll give us more time for more people to get in here as well. And I'll just throw in one more subdiv without projecting, and I think that'll be good. We're getting a little bit of a really weird hit here. It's sticking out a little bit farther than I would like. Let's just do a quick general overview like I mentioned, and just start looking at our goof here. So, proportionally, I think we're in a really good place. I think a lot of things are lining up really well. In terms of proportions and maybe some aesthetic changes, I think the face is kind of the big hit that needs the most changes right now. Everything else is pretty minor. Maybe some slight stuff that we can do to make certain things read a little bit better from this very hyper-specific angle. But other than that, I think we're pretty close. Like I said, we're kind of getting into that last 10%, so we're in the finishing stages of this dude. It's just a matter of like really trying to focus on capturing this appeal now and making sure that it feels like this character. I think in the face it's close, but there could be some more work there to get it closer. So I will we'll look at some of those things too. Another thing I want to do is actually pull up my live stream, as I don't have that open. Some big dumb. There we go. So I wanted to knock back this form in the sleeve, this fold. Start to get these to be a little bit more asymmetric. This is just such a hard, strong form, and I think it reads pretty well, pretty close from our hero angle there, right? But as we start to rotate around, it's kind of a strange shape. It's a very complex shape, and I'm wondering if there's some things we can do to the rest of this to maybe make that continue to read the same from the front, but start to read a little bit better from every other angle. Some awkward kind of shadowy areas that we're picking up in here where maybe like a star of geometry like that is causing some weird folds and stuff that we don't really want. So it's the kind of stuff that I would like to try to fix. I mean, we might just try pushing this to be a little bit closer to the sleeve. I don't know, it's just a very strange choice here. In 2D, I think it looks good. I think it's like a cool kind of fold, but in 3D, I don't know. A lot of these things don't translate super well, so it's just a matter of trying to figure that stuff out. Over on this other one now, I think I'm just gonna get rid of this almost entirely, if not entirely. Maybe keep a little bit of that form in there, but I don't want them to be symmetrical at all. And kind of like the read that this gives me a little bit more here. Maybe we can add in a different fold here. And I would like to, if I can, knock that back on the other one. It's just so strong, it's crazy. Have this nice crease coming down through here, which I like a lot. It's just getting a little bit too tight in some areas, and also causing these weird changes in the silhouette, which are definitely undesirable. I highly recommend that you look at your own work from all these really awkward angles, from like top to bottom and bottom up. All that helps a lot. How do you color it? By RGB or poly paint? Those aren't exactly separate things. RGB just means red, green, blue, which ZBrush uses for its poly paint. I'll show you. So I don't know if you've poly painted before, or if others of you have poly painted before, but oh, you know what? I bet you're talking about this, the RGB channel. Maybe you're confused. This is poly paint. The RGB channel is poly paint. So I'm just using my standard brush, and if I sample this color, this blue, right, and I paint that in there, or we sample this orange, whoops, this orange, and we paint that in there, this is poly paint. You're using the RGB channel of your brush, which is the color channel. That's just how they label it. If you go up here in color, you got your color palette, you got your RGB. If I change this, you know, look, it changes the color down here too. It's all the same. It's all poly paint. Right? So that's poly painting. That's exactly what this is. All poly paint. And I will be filling that entire shirt in. That orange is very strong. That wasn't that strong before. I don't know what happened. Maybe I was using the shadowed version? No. Ah, man. So this is like a case where I'm glad that I have an older version that I can roll back to and grab that color from this color. This is like a little bit darker maybe, but I will be applying that to the shirt. There we go. Let's do something here. So here's an older mesh that I have, and even just between these two, you can see a lot of these changes and how they've kind of taken place. So this is from our last stream. And a lot of minor tweaks, but like I always say, those minor tweaks really add up fast. Let's delete this. But yeah. Miriam Salem, that is how I'm using the poly paint. I will just use the fill object button if I'm doing like one solid color for something. What I might do is fix the color on our collar up here. And I'll just select one of these edge loops so that I can apply all this. And I guess we'll just hide all these, just so I can get a clean selection here. This might not, maybe this geometry spiraled, I don't know. I use ZBrush for this, so it might not be as clean as I thought it was. Let's see. It's close. Close enough. It's being a little bit weird, a little finicky. I'm gonna apply that color up there now. And I will be, it's looking better. Let's maybe try to add a little bit of this darker orange in here to the shirt. I think this just looks too saturated, so let's maybe try like 25% of that. Something like that. I think that looks good. Another thing that I wanted to do that we have not done yet is get these like little fold seams in between these, I don't know what you would call these, the collar, the cuffs, and the shirt cuff. I don't really know what that's called on the bottom there. You're absolutely welcome, yes, of course. And Troy, what's going on? Welcome to the stream, my main squares. We're working on some goober here, some goofy goober. And once I'll keep the stream going a little bit longer before I get to my 3D printing demonstration that I thought would be cool to look at. It'll be pretty quick, but I think it'll be interesting for a lot of you who have not set up stuff for printing. One thing that I was just talking about here is trying to get these striations in here, which are essentially just going to be the part where that's like pleated. I could kind of fake that with poly paint if we sample that color. Let's see. And what I mean by fake that with poly paint is trying to just create a stroke like this. Solid, clean stroke, and then do a bunch of these, maybe more thin. Maybe do that. The problem is poly paint resolution is dependent on your geometry, so that's a little bit of an issue. I guess we could do a Boolean, live Boolean subtractive mesh, and make that a specific, or that specific color. I don't know. I think that's probably going to be the easiest way. I don't know if you guys saw me working on my Domino character, but I did something very similar for the seam line of her entire skin tight suit. So I guess we can try that. I think that's going to be the easiest way, unless anybody else has any ideas. So let's look at trying that and seeing what happens. But in terms of everything else, I don't think we're missing anything. Maybe like poly paint up here on the to get like these little rings around the mouth there. I'm not sure exactly what those are supposed to represent, so I might not even put them in. I don't know. We'll see. So let's try deleting our subdivs because we're not going to need them, and then using a curved tube snap brush. And I'll try to get these in a similar place to what we see in our illustration so we can copy that. Increase your brush size, tap on your surface. Decrease the brush size, tap again. This is all just to kind of help smooth out or clean the curve. Another thing you can do is in your stroke menu, you can go to smooth your curve. Press that a few times and update your geometry. It works better if you have less steps. See that straighten out nice and neat. I'll try that again. Wow, that's way too thin. Try something like that. And then I'm just gonna put in a few of these, trying to match the actual direction of this. And then for the back, we'll just make them pretty equal. I'm actually not gonna worry about how close that is, because I can manually update these after I do it. after I get them in place. Cool, and then just the rest of these are going to be wherever I want, since we can't see anymore. So I'll just try to make them as even as I can. For some of this, you know, I can just pull these out. This will make sense once I go to subtract these. And I do not remember what my brush size was there, so I will have to kind of eyeball this. It was like 25-ish, 21-ish. Somebody roll back the tape and tell me. It's okay. I think that is close enough. Right around 20. Whoops. If you guys didn't know, you can press Tab on your UI and that'll hide a bunch of these hotkeys and buttons. And you can also click this button up here and hide your menu. So if you want like a really minimalistic interface, I can even, what do I have on here? Movie, there it is. So turn off your timeline, menus, and then you can just work this way, which is, you know, kind of nice, but I don't have all my brushes set up to hotkeys, so I have a bunch of these set up to hotkeys, but not everything. I would still need to come back in and select my curved tube and stuff like that. But it's nice. I enjoy working this way sometimes if I want to hide everything and just have a real big UI. If I can get to the point where I just have everything on a hotkey and I never have to worry about the UI again, it'd be nice. I kind of like keeping that stuff up though. It's just easier to jump back and forth and select everything. Alright, so we got a bunch of curves in here now. Some of these maybe aren't as even as we would like, but let's get our menu back so you guys can follow along, at least somewhat know what's going on. I'm going to run an auto groups operation and just hide that geometry and delete it. Don't need it. And then I'm going to set these to negative. And, whoops, negative. And then with live booleans, that'll subtract from here and give us the, what is it? There we go. These striations here. But we definitely need to clean them up because they're pretty dirty right now. So let's try that. My throat. Been talking too much. Whoops. So I'm going to straighten these out first. I'm going to turn off the negative operation there. I'm also going to take a quick minute and go turn on my air conditioning because it's burning up in my room right now. And I don't know why the AC is not kicking on. I might have it off. So let me go turn that on real quick. I'll be right back. The problem is because it's nice and cool in the rest of the house, and in this area I have, what are those called? The little nook of windows. I can't remember exactly. Bay windows, because I have that, and the sun is always shining directly on this part of the house. It gets really hot in here really quick. So it'll be and with my computer, it's like even more hot. So keeps me warm during the winter, I guess, but at any other point, it's always oh gosh, probably like 10 degrees hotter in this room than anywhere else in the house. Alright, so that looks a lot better, and if you don't know what I'm doing, it'll all make sense here shortly. If this all looks like this looks stupid and dirty, it's because it's supposed to. Just trust me. I know what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm going to add some subdivisions to these, then Dynamesh. Froze subdivision levels, and it's going to continue to do that. I accidentally pressed the wrong button and Dynamesh is going to freak out on me. So, man, that's annoying. Let me just save this really quick and restart, because this is going to screw up my Dynameshes for the rest of my entire session here. It'll be faster to just do this. While I'm doing that, if you haven't checked out my Gumroad, there's a link down below where you can go check out my Gumroad. Check out some cool courses with real-time footage, project-based courses, as well as one-on-one mentorship that you can check out. A lot of cool stuff there. Gumroad.com/Follygon. Let's grab our goober here and try to do this again, I guess. So what happened there was that when you Dynamesh, it asks you if you want to freeze subdivision levels. You pretty much always want to say no to that, unless you know why you would ever want to do that. I don't recommend freezing subdivs. I definitely never use that. Okay, so I think we're in a good place now. So let's Dynamesh and then ZBrush all of these. I'm doing 1K, so the total amount of these will be a little bit higher. Let's go lower. Let's try 0.1. And I'll zoom out. Turn on live boolean. Set this to negative, and now these are in a little bit of a cleaner line subtracting from this area here. And let's make sure we get the correct color as well. Load that image back in. So let's sample this guy right here. Make sure we're getting a sample of that color, and fill this in to all of these. Turn on mRGB, of course, or else it will not fill. And you can see here that the geometry is actually cutting into the shirt, and the way you can get that to stop happening is the way live booleans work, the way it's set up, is that if you look at your chain of subtools here, whatever is above this, this piece of geometry will subtract from it if it is intersecting with it. So to kind of correct that, what I will do is move this above my shirt, move the subtractive piece right below that. This is this piece, and now you can see that that's no longer subtracting from the shirt there. So that's the way you can fix all those little problem areas. And I guess let's just turn this on solo just to make sure We're looking nice and good here. There's some warble going on for sure. I guess we can clean that up. Really, it's up to you at this stage. You know, if you want to put in the extra time to make it cleaner. I don't know. I recommend it. I think it's always worth the couple extra clicks to clean this stuff up. And it doesn't take a lot. I'll just go through and delete a couple edge loops here and there. Get that to be a straighter line. This is just supposed to be, it's supposed to represent kind of this pleating here. And I think that looks much better than something like this. And these are like little things that I don't think you need to worry about until kind of the end of your character, but if you're in the process of making these, I feel like you might as well just take them all the way to the end and clean them up and get them straight, because if you don't do it now, by the time you get, you know, 10 hours down the process of working on something else, you might completely forget about adding these in, and or not adding them, technically subtracting here right now, but you might forget to clean this stuff up later. So I try to take care of it immediately. Not a whole lot of work, it's just a little tedious. It's kind of what sculpting is, though, in general. Tedious. Few more and then we'll jump over to something else. Now that we have the process down for how we do this, doing the other ones shouldn't be as hard. Another thing we can do is create an insert mesh brush and draw these out on our surface in other areas, and that should make the process faster. The only problem is if we have a curved surface, that process will not work, because you need the curved tube to follow along the surface for it to be able to cut in properly. And then just throw in some subdivs, 3 or 4, probably good enough, just to make sure that that's a clean piece of geo. And voila! Nice clean subtractions. And I think I got rid of my timeline point that I had on here, unfortunately. So we can turn on perspective, line some things up, and that's looking pretty good. I could even inflate those if I wanted to make them a little bit larger. I really love your videos, especially live video. It's so useful, really. Thank you. Absolutely. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I always appreciate having some people to chat with. And Katie as well. Hello again. I'm doing great. I am doing great. We're just working on our goober here. Right now we're doing some subtractive pieces of geo down here, working on creating like those little pleated areas. Still don't know what this is called here. I'm just going to continue to call it the shirt cuff until someone corrects me, which hasn't happened yet, so I can only assume that you all also either think it's called the shirt cuff or just want me to continue to sound like an idiot, which is just as likely. So that's the process for that. I'm gonna have to do that to the cuffs as well as the collar and I think that's all for that shape specifically. But yeah, let's look at our doohickey. Our shoe. We're gonna do something for 3D print prep that I think will be a really cool demonstration that I don't need to do, but I think you guys will get a lot out of it. I think it'll be cool to see. Engine X 3D. Hello and welcome. Welcome to our humble stream where we're working on a goober named Gooby and doing some sculpting here. He's looking pretty good though for a goober. His eyes not lining up the way I intended exactly. It's a little bit better. One of those eyes is definitely larger than the other in the concept. It's kind of like squishing down. You might be able to argue for perspective, but I think not. So yeah, let's take a look at prepping some stuff for 3D printing and how you can do some keying. If you guys don't know what keying is, I'll explain that as well. Let's fix this shirt first. Apply that. That was weird. Is that better? Is that good? Cool. Cool. I spent all day working on my scene. Gonna be a fun week getting it to somewhere decent. Yeah, just another project to go ham on, right? Sounds like fun. Definitely post some updates in the ZBrush Discord. But yeah, guys, let's look at how you could prep something for 3D printing. I think this will be really helpful, and it'll give me a break from mentally looking at this character and trying to fix stuff for a minute. So I'm gonna save this because all the changes I'm gonna make I do not want to keep. These are just gonna be temporary for demonstrative purposes. So yeah, guys, if you were, I don't know how experienced all of you are in 3D printing, but I'm gonna say for the most part, a lot of you aren't super experienced. I've done a lot of stuff for RPing, for toys, and life-size figures. The more complicated stuff is actually the life-size figures, just because working on these large-scale prints, I used to work on a meter by meter by meter, so meter cubed FDM machine. I think it was called the 3DP 3D platform. That's FDM, but in truth, working with SLA is the more complicated of the two. So yeah, let's talk about how you would print something like this. And we'll talk about, so FDM, if we're looking at like PLA or ABS, a lot of people that are really new to 3D printing think, oh yeah, okay, let's just like, here, we'll put this on our platform here. Let's say that's your print bed, and you know, it's really, my floor is really small, and you'll have to forgive me for that, but yep, we'll just print it straight up and down, just like this, right? That's, well, hold on, that needs to be fixed as well. I need to fix that. Good thing I turned that on orthographically. But you could never, even if that shoe was lined up, you could never just print this straight up and down for so many reasons. You'd get such a terrible result. But, you know, first of all, if someone handed me this file and was like, hey, I need you to 3D print this, or even if I was working on this character, I need you to 3D print this, the first thing I would do is say, whiskers are an absolute no-go, so I would just like hide those, get rid of those. Hair is a no-go as well. Could never print that at this scale. Even if this was life-size, that'd pretty much be the only way you could get away with printing something like this. Even if this was 6 feet tall, I would have to scale these up, just because they're that thin. So that'd be a huge issue. I would definitely need to get rid of those. Another area that might need to be thickened up is probably the neck here. This character currently is about 3 inches tall, and the neck is actually just under 3, it's like 2 millimeters. So I would definitely need to increase the size of that neck and scale that up. Posted a print screen to the Discord. I will check that out. I also got the opportunity to check out your shaman. I believe it was a shaman. I did check that out. That was cool. That was cool stuff. I like me some shamans. Like I was saying, I am going to be doing hopefully a witch next after I wrap up these 2 characters. We'll see how it goes. I would like to do a witch. Yeah, cool. So whiskers, hair, all that, definitely not going to happen. We're printing this in mind with it being like 3 inches tall. And then the main thing I said there was you would never just print this all as one piece of geometry. Only if you were a super noob or extremely in need of more work, because you would have so much cleanup and sanding and resculpting to do that it wouldn't even be funny. So the solution to not printing something all as one piece, because you're going to end up with tons of overhangs and terrible undercuts here that are going to cause more issues than I care to describe during our short time looking at 3D printing here. It's not going to work. It's going to fail. The print's not going to work, and it's not going to be a lot of fun for you. You're either going to get spaghetti in FDM, or you're going to destroy your print bed in SLA, and you'll have to buy a new one, which is going to be like $50 or 50 or 100, depending on what machine you're looking at. So let's look at let's kind of slow things down. Let's look at just our feet, just our legs, and look at how we would print something like this. Let's break this up even more, and I'm just gonna look at 1 foot. So I'm gonna hide all of that, get rid of everything. We're just looking at 1 foot, 1 leg here. So let's keep this simple, right? As simple as we can. I am going to do a merge visible here. Let's see how this works out. See what this geometry looks like, I guess. Ooh, got a little problem back here on the live boolean. That's fine. I will fix that in just a moment. So we're looking at just our legs and just printing these. So we would have to, the first thing we would have to do is find out the dimensions of our print bed. And if we're working in SLA, as I'm going to be considering printing this in SLA, I know that this figure is 3 inches tall, so I know that this leg here is probably going to fit within that space pretty easily. We're looking at 1.3 inches in its max dimension here. So let's split that off. We have some subdivs here that we can delete. I don't need those. So let's split off this leg. That looks pretty good. We'll close holes on that. And since we're printing in SLA, polypaint also doesn't matter. Polypaint data, not important. So we'll just go black and white. And let's look at closing holes here. So if we were to print, let's just say we're kind of looking at this step by step. So we're going to print this leg separately and this leg separately. So when we go to, you know what, I'm gonna fix this now because we did screw this up a little bit. The problem with the way that I've split that is that this is not a perfect flat. And when I go to line up those 2 pieces of geometry because of shrinking or because of any kind of growing or changing that's happening here, and just because this is not a uniform flat surface, we're going to have a lot of issues there. So the way that we are going to correct that is by just grouping everything. I'm just going to group everything that's visible and use a slice curve brush and just do a nice clean slice right down the middle. And that is going to give us, after I split that off and close holes, a perfect flat. We'll turn our poly paint off again. We'll close holes here once again as well. So now when I have these two pieces that are physical and printed, I can just put them together, line them up, and they're going to be good to go. Now, for something like this, I feel like it'll be pretty easy to line these up without any issues. But if you have maybe a shape that's more concentric, more close to a cylinder, that might be a little bit difficult to line up, what you would want to do for something like that is insert, well, first you would purchase some pins of a specific diameter, let's say 1/8 of an inch, and then you would measure your figure, figure out how tall it is, and then figure out how large you need to create some cylinders that you can insert into your mesh as pins. And we'll hide that leg, or I'm sorry, we'll hide this leg. And then you can create these pins in such a way, something like this. So let's say that these aren't, but let's say that these are 1/8 of an inch in diameter. And then from there, you can subtract both of these pins from both sides of your geometry. And then you'll have a nice subtractive piece in there to where you can now have both of these prints, have two hollows on the inside, and those two hollows will line up perfectly with each other. So if you print this and this is a physical piece, what you'll do is you'll take your two pins and you'll shove them in here in one side. And then when you go to line up the other piece, there is absolutely only one way that this can fit in and line up. And it's going to be where these two pins are lined up here. The only other way that that could line up, I guess, is if it were rotated, 180 degrees, 180 degrees this way. But obviously, that's not exactly how it's going to line up. It's going to look totally wrong. We can at least get it close enough to where we're getting close, and then the pins will help make it perfect. So that's how you would do something like that for a flat. And then I'll do the, we'll do the foot next. 1 second here. IngenX says, I saw your 3D prints, Spyro, how much does it cost? So those prints are all SLA, which is their full color sandstone material from Shapeways. Here. Let me see, switch to our face cam here. Let me grab a couple of them. I'll just grab 2. So yeah, like the Spyro Lapras, like I said, these are SLA, so these are full color sandstone. The way that we're looking at printing right now is for something that's a lot higher resolution than what you would get out of these. But if you're interested in these, IngenX, here's another one. This is the Pikachu Totoro one that I did. So if you're interested in these, you can go over to my Shapeways page, and they are on there. I think it's just, if you Google Shapeways Follygon, or it's Shapeways, I think it might be shapeways.com/shop/Ben. Really, I don't know. Just Google Shapeways Follygon and you'll find them. Or there's a link on all the YouTube videos for the creation of those where you can grab one if you're interested. But those are for full color sandstone, so those obviously have to be printed as a solid one piece. This is something where we're looking at trying to get the most amount of resolution out of these, and we're also looking at trying to avoid as many print errors as possible. For SLS, it's like this big block of sandstone, and it's all laser cut out of one big giant block, and they're doing like multiple pieces at a time, multiple prints in this huge printer. So let's continue on here and continue to look at, or next we'll look at how we can key something. So I'm sure you guys have at least heard of keying, and what keying is it allows you to, much like the pins that I created in here, it helps you line up the rest of your figure. So if we want to print this shoe separately from the leg, which personally I think it would be a good idea to do some form of that, But what that'll allow us to do is avoid any buildup of not geometry, but any kind of supports between the shoe and this leg. There's this huge gap here, so you know you can't 3D print on air, so of course you have to have something to support it. It'll create some breakaway supports in there, but it ends up creating some problems in the surface. It can cause some terrible failures, and for the most part you want to avoid that as much as you can. So if we're being as hyper specific as we can, let's look at doing a key here in the shoe. Before I do that, I will subtract that bottom piece though. So let me do that really quick on my shoe. Merge down, and I'm just using Dynamesh to subtract this. Have that. That's pretty good, pretty close. Okay, so from here we have our pant leg and we have our shoe. So I want this shoe to be able to line up in that pant leg as close as I can get it. And the way you start doing that is by duplicating your shoe. I'm going to turn off live boolean. Setting it to negative and just subtracting it, either using live boolean or Dynamesh or you know whatever you're playing around with. We'll just do like a res of 200. Thank you, appreciate the compliment, Engine X. So just to start by Dynamesh, or actually, you know what? That's it's pretty far up in there, creating a lot of really thin areas, so we can see how really thin this geometry gets. So I might instead of doing that. Instead of subtracting that, I might first Dynamesh and combine these. So let's try this instead. We'll start cleaning this up by merging together, running a Dynamesh, and I'm keeping polypane off. I want my poly groups. And then from there, I will take my shoe, all this, I'm going to polygroup all that as one thing, all that as one thing, and then split hidden. And this is a lot easier to do with live booleans now that we have those upgrades kind of in ZBrush, but I'm just going to kind of do this through Dynamesh since it'll be a little bit faster. And I'm not looking for like pixel or vertice perfect geometry here. This will be close enough even for SLA. So we have our two meshes, right? And these line up pretty well. There's some hard, kind of ugly edges here that you might want to go through and start to clean up, either manually or through whatever other process you want to use. That is up to you, but now we have our shoe and now we have our pant leg. So if we printed these as two separate pieces, we could sit here in real life and try to like line these up however like best we can, but it might not ever be perfect. It might not be exactly where we want. And even if it is perfect, even if it's just somehow fits in there just oh so perfectly, you're gonna have issues with like trying to glue that in there and getting that to line up and stay the way we want. So the way we solve all of these issues and many more is by creating what's called a key. And a key is kind of exactly what it sounds like. Think of a key like a lock in a door. The key shape only fits for that specific lock. It's the exact same thing here. So what we will do is take something like, we'll just take our shoe and we will insert a primitive cube onto our shoe. And I'll just insert it in there just like that. Okay? So now we have a cube that's lined up here with our shoe, and what I'll do is I'll just insert this geometry into the shoe a little bit, and I will taper in one side of that cube. So I'll just scale in one side, just like this. And maybe I'll make this cube a little bit bigger. I think that's fine. And I think maybe it's a little bit long, so we'll shorten that. And I think that looks good. Cool. So this is going to be our key piece of geometry. So the way you want to apply this to your two meshes that you have is you want to add a positive to your, so I'll just make two of these. You want to apply a positive to the part where it's wider. So I'll Dynamesh that in. Now I have a positive piece of geometry added on there. And and you want to add a negative to the part where it's thinnest. So right here. So now we have a negative cube here and a positive cube on this piece of geometry. So now once we 3D print both of these pieces, what that allows us to do is essentially get that to slide perfectly right in there. It only fits one direction and it's a perfect fit every time. Now, one thing that you will probably want to do with this is, because you will run into issues if you don't, because in ZBrush, in the digital space, this geometry here, we'll do like a little cross section here, this is perfectly snug, right? That, like, this geometry is almost overlapping. Well, in the real world, we can't really have that. So to avoid any issues with this being ever so slightly too small, too tight, what we will do to correct that is take that cube and increase the size of it or inflate it ever so slightly. So I'll make it a little bit bigger, and then I will, of course, remove it. So now we have this geometry here, and if we look back at our cube, we can see that we have a little bit of leeway for that to fit in there. And of course, what you're going to want to do, I would say for something that's like 2.5, 3 inches tall, like standard vinyl toy size, you might want to do like, I don't know, like a couple, 2 or 3 millimeters of clearance. This is not enough clearance here. I would inflate that even more and just make sure that that really has enough room to breathe and enough room to kind of still fit in there and be snug and have everything else work properly. But yeah, that's pretty much the process for keying. The reason why we did this here as well is because this breaks along this seam really nicely. It's just a really clean breakout, and if we look back at our figure, if I can freaking click it, these are poly paint. So like if you wanted to paint these as well, it might be lucrative for you to paint your pant leg, you know, whatever blue color you want first before you attach it to your shoe. And then you can paint up your shoe if you're, you know, hand painting these or whatever, and start to paint that out first, so you're not having to worry about this seam here and trying to paint everything perfectly. So that's how you would essentially go through this process. The actual doing of this process, the actual hitting the hammer to the nail, that's not all that hard. Especially now that I've kind of shown you guys the steps here. It's the same for everything else. I think you guys can absolutely do that. It gets hard when you have to figure out where you need to make these changes and how you need to sacrifice for specific areas. So we just looked at creating a break between the pant leg here, well, both of our pant legs, and our shoe, one of our shoes. And I think that would be perfectly acceptable if I was 3D printing this with SLA. But, you know, there are some areas where it's not super clear, super easy for us to get a clean shape or a clean break. If we're looking at the torso or the neck, like how would we print these areas? That's where things start to get difficult. So So if you're going into 3D printing, I recommend taking a lot of time to kind of pre-plan all this stuff out. There's going to be a lot of issues overall that you can avoid just by spending an extra hour in the pre-planning stages for how you're going to slice everything up. Another reason why I split off this shoe specifically is because if you're printing in FDM, anything that's extruded, you always want to print on a perfect flat. And I'm sure you guys that do 3D print are familiar with rafts and creating some extra geometry that is pretty similar to a support underneath something that isn't flat. I recommend not doing that. I recommend not doing that a lot of the time because you can get a lot cleaner results by, if you don't have a flat and you do want to print FDM, just by breaking stuff off into a point where you can get a flat. So if we're printing just this leg, and it's just this leg here, and I want to print this in FDM, and I want to, you know, have some kind of extrusion for that, I have a perfect flat here, so I could print from here up, but when I print from here up, I would need to create a boolean here really quick. Let's maybe do this. So up to here, you know, this is printing successfully. It's looking really good. It's being weird. So we're getting up to here, you know, this is printing fine, but as it starts to get a harder and harder kind of turn on the angle here, right through here, once you start to get over about 45 degrees, right about here, that's when support starts getting laid on this piece of geometry. So about anything past like this point here, all this is going to have support on it. And support leaves marks on your surface and everything else, so it's just going to be more of a headache than you maybe want to deal with. So maybe you would slice this off in such a way that you could get a flat and then print from there. So some of these pieces can be a little bit more tricky than others. It really just kind of depends. Let that figure out what it's doing there. But if you can slice that like that, I think that would be a pretty good flat to print from, something like that. And then, you know, instead of breaking this off at the shoe line, maybe we could have broke it off at the folded up pant leg there instead and gotten a flat to print from going this way. That'd been really nice. So, you know, taking the time to, like I said, pre-plan this stuff out, very helpful, and it will save you many headaches. But yeah, that's I think that's a good, quick demonstration of a lot of these processes for 3D printing that some of you, a couple of you have probably done some similar stuff before, but maybe not to this extent or seen keying maybe to that degree. So let's, I'll hold on to that in case you guys have any questions about any of that. But yeah, let's get back to our goofy boy, and keep sculpting. So just let me know if you guys have any cues about 3D printing or that whole process that we just went over. I'd be happy to answer what I can. And for what I can't, I'll lie and make something up, so you won't know any better either way. I'm just kidding. But I do want to subtract our live booleans that I've created in my character here, specifically in the shoes. So I'm going to do that while I give my voice a quick rest here. Do you have a Discord channel? There is the ZBrush community Discord, which I am the administrator of. Let's see. I don't have it open right now, but I think there's a link on the About page of my YouTube channel. I want to double check because I said that earlier and I did not check. Ooh, I don't have a link to it. Let me grab the link for you really quick because where is it? here we go. I will share this in the chat. So that is the link to our community Discord, ZBrush Discord. There is also an official ZBrush Discord, but people don't really talk in there very often. They're kind of trying to push it a little bit more, which I think is good. Definitely in general, just like let's get the community together and talking and sharing stuff. But yeah, that's where we hang out. And if you want to contact me and ask me any questions or anything, that is probably the easiest place to do that. One second here. Cool. So I'm going to subtract all this junk. Lost my mouse for a second there. Live Boolean and append. And I'll just delete what I don't need anymore. Somebody, I can't remember who it was asking about live booleans. Just make sure when you do a live boolean that you only, it was a vmate, I think. I might be wrong in that, but when you do a boolean, just make sure you only have visible what you want to operate the boolean on. I will need to subtract that as well. That one didn't freak out. This is just, the geometry is a little tweaked in here. So I think instead of wasting time making a new live boolean, I will just manually mask this off. Then use our good old transpose clip action to clip that in. And of course this is like really dirty in here, but it doesn't matter because it's never seen. If I were to even print this, it would all that geometry would disappear. Delete some extra junk. Well, it doesn't look like anybody has any cues about all this 3D printing jazz, so I will just delete all that. We had a quick save as well, so we can still roll back. Do I have any more live bulls? Yes, I do. On the shirt. I think I'm gonna set up these sleeve shapes as well, these pleats here and up here. And then I will call that good, and we'll I don't know, we'll do something else. But I want to take care of that first, since it's just something tedious that I can kind of do fairly mindlessly. Let's see here. If you are watching on my YouTube channel, which it looks like most of you are, please consider, or you know what? No, get off YouTube. Stop watching me on YouTube, all of you. It's bad. Go watch me on Twitch. There's a link down in the description, and it'll help me a lot by helping me get closer to the affiliates program. I'm very close already. The main goal that I need to meet next is just getting concurrent viewership, which is easy to do here on YouTube since that's where everybody already follows me. So I might be switching over to Twitch completely, depending on how some things go here. I want to see actually how close I am in there. So I've met two of the 4 goals. I just need to get the average viewership up and then stream for like 3 more days, and that's like, the streaming more days is not a difficult thing. That's really easy for me to do. It's just getting the concurrent viewership up on Twitch. Since everybody watches me here on YouTube, that doesn't add into that number, unfortunately. So I just need to get that number up, and then I'll get the affiliate, and then I'm one step closer to possibly doing the partnership, which is a little bit further away in terms of their goals. But I think if I could just like send everything from YouTube over there, that would be super nice, but unfortunately I can't. But if that does end up being the case, if I start doing stuff on Twitch more, I will absolutely set up a more concrete schedule so we're not just kind of willy-nilly whenever, and a little bit more consistent. But first the affiliate program, and then from there. I need to line these up as best as I can. Trying to use the same draw size on all of these, and sometimes it's not consistent, I've noticed, with curved tubes. I don't know if the size has something to do with like the size of the geometry you're working on, but I've definitely noticed in the past that it's not always incredibly consistent. Like I said, this is kind of the tedious, mindless stuff, so I'll try to go quick, but I still want this to be really clean, so I guess there's not really, I don't think I'm a super fast sculptor, but when you're talking and sculpting at the same time, it's like so much slower, so much harder to get stuff done. Oh no, it's kind of freaking out there. Well, that was fun. You like Twitch but only 1080p available. What is wrong with 1080p? That's the standard. It's not like I'm streaming in 4K here. How can you shorten a curve? There are a couple ways. You saw what I just kind of manually did there with cutting it up. I'll show you a new way that was added in ZBrush 2018, the version that we are on right now, the newest version. So let me finish setting up these curves and then I'll show you really quick. Like cut a part of it. Okay, I'll show you a couple quick ways. So if you end up with an issue like this, right? And you're still working on your curve, like we have here. We have our curve that we can affect. If you go to elastic or liquid, either one will work. If you turn that on, and I'm going to turn on lock start as well. I don't think it'll matter. I should be able to just drag this back over itself, and it'll start deleting the curve. Let's try elastic. Might be a little bit more forgiving. But yeah, this is a little bit long and annoying to do, but just kind of dragging back along that endpoint will help pull it in. If you're struggling, like I am right here, and let's say you don't even have your curve options anymore. Let's say you just have your geometry, like this. You could do what I did on this piece and just hold Control and Shift, select lasso, and then just get rid of what you don't want. Delete hidden, which is in your modify topology menu. That's one way. Another way is to use a slice curve brush, hold Control and Shift. Instead of using a select brush, use a slice brush, and then you can slice it off and then do the same thing, delete hidden, and get rid of it that way. So that's what I recommend. It takes me about 3 weeks to get a character sculpt done. Then you have retabo, UV, and texturing on top after that. Yeah, depending on the character, I will spend quite a long time on stuff. Oops, I'll split that off. But let me know if that helps, Argashiti. And if you want to know specifics for the tools a little bit better, I can show you some of that. Yeah, depending on the character can definitely take me, you know, it just kind of depends on the project, how specific certain forms are, how complicated there are, and how much time I can throw at it. Let's see. Let's start cleaning up our curves now. Ah, our good buddy Ak has come to the Twitch side. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Then I think that should help you in terms of just slicing that off. Let me know again if you want me to go into a little bit more of the specifics there. You know, I'm starting to realize that I might want to get this to wrap around this a little bit more on the edge here. That's unfortunate. Let's see. It might be faster for me to just redo these curves. Let's not. Let's just try to do this the old-fashioned way. Got to think of game ready topo as well. Of course, if you're, you know, in that stage, we're already past, you know, the neutral. We're going into pose right away here. So we're going for sculpt. But I would recommend doing topology at a lot earlier stage than kind of the finishing point, especially since topology is so helpful in controlling your form and aiding you in creating the specific shapes of a character. Once you are really confident with those primary and secondary forms, that's when I think you should start getting into getting that really clean topo. I do the same thing. I just do it even when I'm doing a sculpt, I just go straight to clean topo with polygroups and Z remeshing. And I've shown a lot of examples of that, even just on this character, but that stuff helps you create your character a lot more than you might think. It's not just about, you know, making it animatable or more easily animatable. So I'm manually wrapping these right now into the sleeve because I was stupid and didn't snap the curve all the way through like I should have. So I have to just manually do all this crap. I just have these Dynameshed right now. The reason I Dynameshed them was to get rid of any spirals, and it will make the remesh cleaner because of that. Last one here. We got a follow from someone, I heard it. I haven't been super paying attention, and I apologize if I've missed a few of them, but thank you. Agashidi, our good boy Ak, has come to our rescue and given us a follow on Twitch. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, man. Like I said, depending on how some things are going, I might be switching over to Twitch completely. We'll see though. I haven't decided yet. Alright, so quick Z remesh, and then we can start setting these up as Boolean pieces. Maybe a little bit more cleanup to some of those areas. Whoops. I have never used the difference operation for Booleans in ZBrush. Like, never. There's like so few instances I can think of where I would want to use that. I don't know. Kind of seems. I'm sure there are things that I could think of that would be really cool to do with that, but just never use it. So those are working a lot better now. They're still pretty all over the place. Like, if we turn to the side, we're getting like all sorts of warble here that we do not want. We want to clean this up and make this look production ready. Most of these should not be seen past this point, so I wish I would have wrapped these a little bit better. I'll do it on the next piece on the other side. That'll make this a little bit easier. We want something like that. Can you please send the Discord invite again? I should have it copied, so there we go. Boom. There you go. So let's see. NZ. Katie. Is that a, I guess that's an instant invite. That might be a different, I guess it gives a different URL. I just copy and pasted the one from the welcome page. I will put that link permanently on my Twitch channel as well, so that it's available. It's easier to get to, so I don't always have to copy it. Come on, you stupid curves. I should have just done it the other way. Dumb. I was thinking about redoing it, but I was like, that'll be too much work. Psych. It doesn't need to be perfect either, but I feel like I need to make it perfect. Since I fudged it so much. I'm a dang fudger. Cool. Great. Alright. Let's see what that's looking like. Pretty good, but obviously we could do some cleanup, which I will probably do now since we're here. This is the super quick, mindless stuff. I'm just deleting enough that it conforms to the surface still, but also cleans up the curve enough that it's nice and straight. And it's just deleting, like, right now every third or so edge loop. It's not a specific number every single time. It's different every time. I'm just making sure that I'm checking each one after I do it. That's way straighter, way more clean, way more clean. This one's really not that bad, but it's got a little bit of a bow in it that you can see. So even just deleting those makes it easier to adjust and move with my move brush. So that's another reason why I delete those. This one's really dirty. Another thing that you can do to your curved tube settings is decrease the step count, and that will help lower the edge loop count as well. Make it a little bit easier on yourself when you clean this stuff up. Alright, so this time I will intentionally wrap those all the way around into here and make that a lot cleaner. I don't think I applied this color. Loved the ZBrush Summit, but that presenter was extremely cringe. Which one? I had the chance to watch a good portion of the summit. Not all of it, but I saw the important bits. I think you're just talking about, like, no spoilers, I need to catch up. I don't know if there's any spoilers I could give. Louis. I don't think Louie's cringe. I think Louie's a really cool dude. But when you're dealing with like all the technical difficulties that you are, and you know, it's not like he's not a dude that gets up in front of people and talks all the time. So he has to stall, and like they have all these technical issues, and he's the front man. Like, would you rather, like, they don't want to just like have a technical issue and then have it go black and not explain anything. They want to have a guy that's there, like, still talking to the crowd, still talking to the live stream, and just, you know, the show has to go on, right? And I don't know, I think he did a good job. Even if some parts were like awkward or whatever, it's like, I don't care. I don't give a fuck about awkwardness. It's fine. It's gonna happen. So there is our step counter. I'll show you what I was talking about. Setting the curve step to like 1 here. It actually doesn't update the stroke, unfortunately. Let's see. Let's set this on like 2. We'll try 2 or 3. So I'm getting less steps in here. The problem is, like the main issue, like once I start to rotate and pull into here, that's where it's going to get really messy. So I want this to conform to the surface. But because the step count is so low, it's having trouble. Looks like my size modifier's on or something here. That's being stupid. Let's try again. It's a little bit better. Why is this being so stupid? Alright. This is really laggy too. That should work. Something like that. Less steps as well, so easier to clean up. But this is what I should have done on the first pass with these. Another thing I need to check is how many of these did I do? So 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 of these. I just need to space these out somewhat evenly, I guess. 1, 2, 1. 2. He's cool, just a bit cringy. Isn't everybody? Hope to see you there in the next Sculpt Off. Yeah, I was definitely considering going this year. Just time and everything didn't really line up too well. Maybe by next year, we'll see. Just trying to do this quickly. There's no way to do things quickly and clean at the same time. It's like one or the other. Take your pick. And of course I always pick clean. I have to make things clean. It's my gift and my curse. If I did the sculpt off, I'd spend the first hour making just super clean forms of everything, and then just run out of time. But I'd have a really good, like, super clean sphere. It'd be great. It'd be the best damn sphere you've ever seen. Get all the votes. Alright, so that's 3, 6, I thought I did 7. That's why I spaced these out this way. Just trying to keep things even. I guess it really isn't that big of a deal, but it's a big deal to me. So this is such an awkward angle to try to draw these at, these curves. But I guess it's working out. We have them done now, yay! It only took an hour. So set that to negative, and we're gonna do this exactly the same way that we did our other one. So lining things up. This is so close to that one there. Just, I guess try sliding it and hope we can. Oh, you know what? That worked better than I thought it would. So definitely a lot of warble and curves going on in these that I don't want. So I just want to make sure that everything's actually subtracting correctly first. Line it all up and then subtract it. Subtract some edge loops. Alright, ZModeler. Wow, these are so messy. Okay. Delete all the edge loops. And then of course just make sure that it's separating, or subtracting, not separating, subtracting correctly before moving on to the next one. I don't want any surprises. I'm gonna hide that. It's getting in the way. It's like being a little weird there. I don't know what's going on. It's like pinched in or something. I might have fixed it. Yeah, I did. These tubes tend to stay fairly clean, and the way I've done this time, I haven't had to Dynamesh and like recreate all these edge loops, thankfully. The reason why I normally Dynamesh them and then remesh them after that is because you start to get some like, what's going on here? You start to get some areas where your curves or your tubes start to like twist or something like that, and you don't want that. You don't want that for your geometry, at least. It's very hard to manipulate and work with geometry that's twisting, where you don't want it to twist. So Dynamesh will get rid of not just twists, but it'll get rid of like, it'll destroy your geometry, your topology flow. And then from there you can remesh it and then it'll clean it up. These are still really dense, which is why I'm deleting so many of these edge loops. You can see how this starts to get a little non-uniform. It starts to pinch in more up here. So I'm using my move brush while holding Alt to like push in and pull out that curve so I can like gauge how deep or how much that needs to stick out. And that helps keep it uniform all the way through. Okay, 2 more of these, thank God. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because my neck is hurting and I'm getting sick of doing this. These stupid freaking edge loops take forever to clean up. But I need them because I have to have them conform to the surface. So I have to do it this way. I don't have another method. I should probably like try to make some kind of custom brush for subtractive tubing of some kind. Because I do this a lot. I like create some kind of piping for something and then it works great. It creates really clean forms. It's just that you have to take the time to make those tubes, those pipes really, really clean. Like we've done here. Live Boolean is being a little bit laggy right now, making my camera a little bit laggy. So I apologize for the stutteriness. But that's really close to what I want. The only changes that I would make is kind of like pull in these edges to be a little bit tighter to the surface there. Other than that though, I think they're fine. And then I'll add subdivs, of course, just to clean them up. Make sure that they're not, the polys aren't visible and stuff. It is so clean, says Rohit. Yeah, he's pretty clean. That's me, Mr. Clean. I need to shave my head now, I guess, since I've been dubbed Mr. Clean, I feel like. Let's clean it up even a little bit more in our sleeves. I'll show you the area that I was talking about. It's actually going to be hard to tell in Transpose Master in here because I can't see the booleans, and this isn't gonna work for a couple reasons. How can I do this? Okay, so here's what I'll do. I want to make this a little bit more flush with the surface of the sleeve. But before I do that, let's merge these together. I need to make these pull out a little bit more on the edge like this. I might actually boolean this so that I can move it all as one piece. Or there might be like another little bit of a trick that we can do. So if I had a folder right now, right? Wow, folders would be great. If I had a folder right now and I could move like both of these at the same time, that would be ideal. But I can't, because I don't have folders. So I will subdivide once, like I'll go up to my second subdivision level and delete my lowest subdiv. I'll actually go up to my third and delete my lower subdiv. And then from there, I will go into T-pose. So this lets me see this curve a lot better, so I can line that up with the surface here easier. So I'll just grab the shirt and like pull that as close to the edge as I can get it, with still having like a little bit of a ridge. It's mainly up here where it's a really big gap. Let's see. That looks pretty good. I don't want this poking through here. And up here, I'll do the same. Need some sleep? No way. Sleep is for the dead. It's just that I've been sculpting and streaming a lot today, which is fine. It's fun. It's just like talking a lot. Definitely wears on the voice. Alright, let me just push this in a little bit here and here, and I think that'll be good. I think that'll make those perfect. Not only yeah, I deleted these lower subdivs here, but I can reconstruct and get those back, and I'll do that right now. So now I have all those, plus the highest. And I will change the order of my subtools so that my live booleans aren't screwing up my shirt. But some of those, it looks like, are poking through, so let me just adjust some of this, fix it up. No poke through, please. Engine X 3D, when will you print this? I'm not particularly, like, I'm not planning on printing this anytime soon, if I do. I don't have access to an SLA machine, so if I wanted to print this through, like, Shapeways or something, it would be ungodly expensive, so I'm not doing that. It'll be a while. But I would really like to print this and like RP it up and even like paint it or something would be super cool. But, you know, it would just be for me, so it's not really worth that time investment, at least right now, the time and money investment that it would cost to print something like this through a print-on-demand service. Like I said, stupid expensive. Okay, I think that's all these awkward little areas where that was poking through. Maybe like a couple more. Please go away. Please go away, I said. Whew, okay. Let's see him. Let's see it all working together. Very nice, very nice. So I would have to live boolean these, actually subtract these from the geometry, and I eventually will. I'm going to keep them as live booleans right now, so they're just those geometrical tubes right now creating those subtracts. But I definitely will apply those later. Did that? I guess this didn't stick. I did something earlier and got rid of this poly paint on the collar on accident somehow. I don't know what happened up here. So let's try to get that back. Fill object, MRGB. Cool. Much better. Many pieces or just one. So SLA, definitely like many pieces. But if I was going to SLS this like full color sandstone through Shapeways, I would have to make a lot of things a lot more thick than what they are right now. And I would also have to hollow this dude out, which wouldn't be... It wouldn't be super easy. I might have to, like, if I wanted to SLS this through Shapeways, I might have to, like, pull them apart at the stomach, like at the shirt here, at this cut or something under here, and then hollow out each piece individually just because of the thicknesses here. I'd probably have to make too many sacrifices in the scale and size of everything to do SLA, or I'm sorry, SLS, like sandstone, full color sandstone, which I have a tutorial of on my YouTube channel if you're interested in setting prints up for that process. So if you're interested in printing your own stuff through Shapeways, I have a really convenient tutorial on that. I think there would just be too many sacrifices to do that, so I'd do SLA with like a lot of parts. I think that would be the best method. But yeah, he's looking really good. Do you guys have any questions about anything that we've done up to this point, or anything we haven't done even? I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'll answer what I can. Let's so the face, right? First of all, I still need to put in the like pleats here in the collar. I'm not doing that quite yet though. I'm gonna wait because I'm tired of doing that, and I don't want to like monotonously do that anymore here on stream. So the face. The face has some particular characteristics. It's just maybe... It's just pushed so far, right? Like these eyes are perpendicular to the camera, even though he's looking at us from almost a profile-like look. So a lot of things are like warped in 2D, which is cool that you can do that in 2D. Not always possible in 3D. Not without making it look like crap from every other angle. And I don't want to make it look like crap from every other angle. I'm pretty happy with the face. There's just like a few things that, like little things that could make big differences in making it feel more similar to this character. It definitely feels like the same character though, which is the most important thing. I'm gonna inflate these a little bit. You still need to fix the feet in the ortho view. Ah, that's right. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I have not done that. Katie's talking about how that foot is going through our ground plane. What I like to do on most of my characters is scroll on down to the bottom and then just initialize the cylinder and increase the size of that cylinder. And then make like a little platform for our character. And if you want this to line up perfectly with like the flat of your shoe, which this is not perfectly flat, but you can do a little trick here with your transpose line and clip that to be exactly the same height, so that'll line up perfectly there. And then this one obviously is not correct. So let me scale this up, and I will crease this cylinder as well. Give us a nice little cylinder platform here for our goofy goober. Let's add some poly paint or color or something to this. I like this green a lot in the hat. It's kind of fun. For the most part though, I never like use these for anything. I never like render with these for the most part. Sometimes I do, but I like to keep it in there so we can see how our feet are lining up with our ground plane. And of course, our heel is all fudged. So let's fix it. If I move that up, I might have to shrink the scale of my foot. You're looking really good overall, though. I think we're getting like a really good full character read here. The platform really helps in just being able to see everything together. Why is the gizmo tool so crappy? I don't think it's crappy. I'm just like so used. I've been using the transpose line forever, like, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the gizmo. The only reason I use the gizmo is to get to the deformers. Other than that, there's like, I don't know, there's no other reason for me to use it. I really like the transpose line. It works just like a gizmo in any other, 3D program. It's whatever. It does what it's supposed to. So my concern is that if I move the foot up, what will happen will it'll look out of proportion. It like won't hit in the right place. But it might not be that big of a deal. Let's just do it, and then we'll make changes as we go. Transpose, please. Whew. How's everybody hanging in there? How's everybody... What did I just say? What words just came out of my mouth? How is everybody? Let's try that one. How you guys doing? You having fun? You guys working on some ZBrush stuff? You guys working on some 3Ds? Words, guys. Words are tough sometimes. Or most of the time if you're me. So I'm starting by just straight up sliding that up along the Y. Just to get this heel out. Right about there is probably fine. And then maybe lengthen that leg. I need to look at this from a 3/4 view. Gauge some distances. I'm gonna try pushing this up some. And a little bit more asymmetry there, and from our angle here, we're seeing that elbow just a little bit higher. So just try to push things a little bit harder there. This is not lining up anymore. So that's nice. That's fun. Our leg is getting all sorts of jank. Not the good kind of jank. Come on. Stupid leg. I don't know what the good kind of jank is, by the way. But we got some Pop Sky music, which is always nice. Sounds like Pop Sky at least. Showtime, Pop Sky. If you bend the other foot up, it will look strange. Well, we didn't bend it, we just kind of slid it up, and now what I'm trying to do is correct some of the twisting or this curve that's happening here. Try to get that back in. Need that to kind of retain that shape that we had before. So we had it nice and clean. Really, the perspective is like what's making this foot look lower than the other one, which is fine. We'll just have to fix it in 3D. I almost just ran over my foot with like my entire body weight plus the weight of this chair, which is like not a good thing. That would have been really painful. This chair weighs like not 100 pounds, but it feels like it does. I've ran over my foot once with this chair, and wasn't my favorite experience in my life thus far. I'm just trying to clean this curve up, so I think we're like 90% of the way there. My main concern is that things don't really line up as good as they were. This shoe in 3D at least starts to look too big. I don't know. I might scale up the head even a little bit more, which I've done many times at this point. I think the head is like, it's just the perspective that I think is annoying me. Actually, you know what? I think I know what it is, and this is a change that I wanted to make earlier. So I will scale up the head, but I'm only going to scale up a part of the head, not the entire thing. Alright, let's see if this looks okay. Still like, this bottom curve, it's still not what I want it to be. It gets too straight through here. I need it to have like, look how cool this curve is. Like, I need that all the way through. I need that follow through. Up to the booty. Okay. So in the head, I want to scale the back portion of it, because this part of the head is a lot, not a lot, but it's larger than what I have in my concept, or in my sculpt. Blah, 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 blah. So let's try to make some like proportional changes here. But because we have everything separated, it shouldn't be too hard. Hopefully. And I will do a quick save before we destroy everything. Always quick save before you break your sculpt. If you don't know when you're going to break your sculpt, then just quick save all the time. Mario, what is going on? First time seeing your channel, awesome stuff. Question, is your pop-up menu when you click on spacebar different? No, it's exactly the same as the default spacebar menu. I use this all the time. I don't know why people don't use this. It's just like really handy and it stays by your mouse, so it's very nice. I thought I saw something different than what usually comes out. No, that's the same. Definitely the same. You might be actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but you might be talking about this menu. This is a different menu. You can set any menu in ZBrush to a hotkey. That's what the spacebar does. It's a hotkey that opens up this menu. If you hold, whatever hotkey you set for like the Z plugin menu, wherever you press that hotkey, it'll appear on your mouse. This is just a menu that I made. I made a custom, yeah, this one? Yeah, so I just made a custom menu. You can make a custom menu in ZBrush in the preferences. Custom UI, you have to like, there's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube and the internet that you can find to do this, but you have to go into preferences, config, enable customize, and then you can create a custom menu and fill it with whatever you want and set your hotkeys for it. I just have a menu that I made with all my stuff in it, and I have it set to a hotkey. So that's what that is. I still use the spacebar menu though, all the time. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. If you don't have a custom menu for yourself, I definitely recommend making one. They're very helpful. Katie says, use the spacebar menu all the time since the brush hotkey keeps glitching. It's sticking to my UI. That's not good. That's really weird, actually. I don't know if I've ever had that one happen to me. Unless you're, I don't even know. Is it I? That's in RGB. U? This thing? Does that thing keep sticking to your UI? Because that's fun. Yeah, I don't use those very often. Or ever. If I'm going to access them, I get them in here, or I just go up here and do that. So I wanted to scale the back of my head, right? And to do that, I'm going to have to be pretty careful with this selection. You know what? Let's turn this off. Let's not scale this. Or the bottom one. Let's try just the head. I don't know if I need to scale that with it or what. Maybe I'll just do it separate. This might help our eyes too. So scale, find that center point to scale from, and yeah. I guess let's just try this and see what happens. That was a pretty large scale increase. Probably like 5-ish%, 5 or 10%. Let's push her further, Captain. I prefer to do stuff in the head larger than I should, typically. Most sculptors make things too small. Let's just try it and go back to our subtools. This has been really bothering me. And I might just need to like pinch in around this area to clean it up. Definitely looks like Goofy. I mean, that's undeniable, but just getting these proportions to be as perfect as we can is pretty tough. Let's see if that scale change helps or hurts things as a whole. And then, like I said, we can adjust the mouth here a little bit more manually as well. And yeah, I feel like that's a lot closer actually. I don't really like this curve here on the side of the eye. So sometimes you have to also improve whatever you can in a design, which you want to do the smallest amount of that you have to do. You want to design, you know, the least amount of things that you have to. So that's why having multiple views is always preferred. Like for the back of this character, there's a lot that we've had to infer from what information we have. But I think we've done a good job overall for getting these other views. Like, nothing over here on this side is going to be as dynamic as our kind of leading pose angle. It's because we've, you know, fought to get everything to read really well from this one angle, and then have it read still pretty well from all other angles. Like, we're still getting a lot of good read here. Like, a lot of these forms are translating, and it still feels like the same character no matter what angle I'm looking at this from. I don't know why, but I feel like this rotate is like really smooth right now, and it's not normally this smooth. Which key is redo? I thought it didn't exist. Control-Shift-Z, that is correct. Yes, I use that all the time. It's very useful. When you're hitting S, the change in scale for your brush, yeah. That's weird, that gets stuck to your UI. And like I said, never seen that one. That's funny. Funny for you. Or I guess funny for me, not for you. That's why when I do character concepts, I always do front, back, break down the items. Good habits to get into early, absolutely. Yes, trying to draw some additional views of your character can be helpful. My early kind of beginning process, if I feel like it's a really tough character, I'll do some draw-overs and start to pre-plan some stuff for the sculpt, which can be very helpful. There's nothing on this, though, that like makes me question how I would tackle it. I think overall it's... The creation of the objects is simple for sure. It's just the trying to get that stylistic appeal and get everything feeling like this character in 3Ds. V-tough. We're definitely there. Like I said, we're in that like last 10% stage where everything starts coming together. And we just need to find the character here as much as we can so that it feels as close to this concept as I can get it. Goofy, you look so high and drunk. I don't even know what to say to you, man. You've lost control. See, stuff like the tooth here where it's hitting on this shape of the mouth. These kind of things get really kind of hard to balance proportionally. And it's kind of because, like I said, a lot of things in the eyes are kind of like twisting towards the camera to get that read so that you can see both eyes, but his head is like looking like the camera's looking at it from a profile view. You wouldn't see the front of the mouth the way it's like designed here. I've actually added in some like skewing to the head that you might be able to see in there to make that actually read in 3D a little bit better. So I myself have like pushed this in such a way to cheat it in 3D a little bit. Could you do this as well with a mouse, as well as I'm sculpting right now? Absolutely Yes, but I don't know why I would do that. Could a sculptor just bang rocks on his, you know, if he's carving from a block of stone? Could he do that? Yeah, I mean, he could, but it would take a lot longer and be a lot harder. Yeah, so you can definitely sculpt with a mouse, but that would involve me, you know, every step of the process, instead of just being able to sculpt with my brush, and instead of having, you know, the finesse that I do with a pen for sensitivity. Really, that's the only point of having a pen, is your pressure sensitivity. Instead of that, I'd have to come in and switch my Z sensitivity and switch my brush size every single stroke. And that'd be really annoying, really tedious. So that's why we have pens. Pressure sensitivity is a godsend. Makes our workflow a lot faster. But yeah, I actually use my mouse while I'm sculpting quite often. If I'm like using a big move brush or something, I'll like just grab my mouse and do it that way. Just because sometimes I'll be holding my arm up like all day, and after holding your arm up in the air for 8 hours, your arm kind of gets a little bit tired. So it's nice to rest it every once in a while. Oh man, I'm thinking about making the mouth a little bit more narrow. Just because I think it gets thick to the point where it's messing up our silhouette here. And if I made that more narrow, I might be able to line some stuff up here a little bit better. I think. I'm not positive, but I have a good feeling that that's one of the issues here in the face. It will make fitting in these teeth maybe a little bit tougher with the tongue there. I don't know, I guess we'll find out. Just play with it and see what happens. Neighbor's dog, shut up. Let's see. Let's start scaling this. Whew. So how am I gonna do this? I can't just do everything at once, because that will drastically squish all my hard pieces, like my teeth. That'll squish in my tongue, my whiskers, and my nose. I don't want that. I worked so hard to like make those forms all nice and pretty. So let's not do that. Let's just squish the mouth in a little bit first. So what I'm hoping to accomplish is, if we're looking at this curve here, trying to get this tooth and everything here to line up just a little bit better. And I think making this more narrow, even if it didn't help this line up better, I think I would make this change either way. Just because that was looking, just from these extreme views, it was looking way too thick, way too fat. Looked kind of stupid. Aligning these teeth has been, or it was when I was working on them, a little bit of a hassle. Because they are so asymmetric. Like this, there's no way I can get that to read from this angle the way it is there. Unless I'm just making the teeth like completely different shapes, it's not gonna read from the other angle then. And I don't want that. I I need these buck teeth to read from our hero angle and not look like crap from every other angle, and it's extremely annoying because it's not gonna work. You're gonna have a bad time. Try to make this tongue a little bit longer as well. A little bit more rounded at the bottom. About positioning these teeth in the mouth and getting the jowl to read correctly. Like I said, pretty annoying to deal with. But I think we're closer now. Let's hop on back. I think I need to add this to my hotkey menu because I use Transpose Master so often. Need to add that to my Folly menu. I think that would help a lot. Let's see. How are we looking? Bottom of the mouth is sticking out too far now that I've moved everything else. Real quick here. Nah, never mind. I'll just do it later. I was going to add those transpose buttons to my menu and show you guys how to do that, but then I'd have to like sit here and restart ZBrush a few times, and I kind of don't want to do that quite yet. So give me a minute and that'll be like one of the last things we do. There's actually a little bit of a bug in ZBrush when you save your UI. It messes up your palette order. I don't know if people really line up multiple palettes too often though, so I really don't know why it hasn't been fixed. I should probably report it because I've never heard anybody else talk about it. And there's no way it's my own installation because it does it on every computer that I've ever tried it on. So if you go, like I have Z plugin and stroke over here. So if I were to go to preferences, store config and save my UI, the next time I loaded ZBrush, stroke would be on top and Z plugin would be underneath it. It's so annoying. I don't know why it does it, but I would like it to be fixed. So whenever I edit my UI, I have to like swap my palettes over there, swap the order of them. I'm pushing in the side of his head because this was getting like covered up. I think instead of what I just did, it's probably smarter to bring this the edge of this out further. I'm doing it like to the extreme right now, but after I smooth that, It'll be fine. I'm just doing that to force my surface to start turning this direction. It just, if we look at this now compared to out here, it's flat and then it kind of comes down a little bit more. Just helps out in the side of the face here. Also, I'm going to flatten it over here some too. I think I've rounded this head out just a little bit too much in a lot of these areas. And it's not doing me any favors. So you guys, if you watch me sculpt, or have ever watched me sculpt before, you'll probably see me do something pretty similar to what I'm doing right now, where I'll start creating like some heavy strokes and then I'll smooth it down. So, and then I'll say like, oh, I'm trying to force my surface to turn, and it might not be super obvious what I mean there. I'll show you an example, a more accurate example here in just a moment. So you guys can maybe apply these things to your own work. So the basic idea, let me look at this really quick here. Okay. Cool. So I'll do a duplicate on my hat and just show you what I'm talking about, so you guys can get an idea. And Katie says custom menu at the bottom starts to remove items after a while. That's super weird. I've never had that happen. Actually, what happens to me is that it just won't load in my custom UI. So if that does happen to you, Katie, you can just go into Preferences and click on Restore Custom UI, and whatever the last user interface or custom config that you saved or loaded in, it will reload that as you left it. So I have had similar kind of little BS things like that happen. Just try that next time. It randomly removes the edit tab. That's funny. Okay, so when I'm talking about turning a surface, when I'm trying to like force a shape to change, so let's say I want to get a crease down the middle of this hat, and I want this to kind of be like a little bit of a pyramid-y shape, all the way like with a crease down the middle. So I would start by using a really strong pinch brush, like a big strong pinch brush like this, just to start forcing everything to follow that shape. And then I could like mask it off. And I start off by making like these really big changes like this, because it's like, and this is what I mean by like forcing the surface to turn. So like this pinch brush, this pinch that I've done, like it's starting to pull up there, it's not quite as good. So I'll start to add in some extra geo here, so it starts to build up around there. And this is starting to force everything to like follow along this path that I've created for it. So then I'll like Dynamesh it and continue to like pinch in and pull up along that area. And it's starting to now conform to that shape that I'm looking for. So this is what I mean when I say like force the surface to do something. I'll make like a really big, strong stroke that just starts to get the geometry flowing in that direction, even though it's not exactly what I'm looking for. And then from there, it's just a matter of, if you have subdivs, you can smooth it out, or if you're making an extreme change like I made here, you might require you to build up the form around that a little bit more, so like trim brushing it or clay buildup, whatever you got, to start to force it to, you know, create that pyramid shape that you wanted to get there from that view. So that's what I'm kind of talking about. Let's delete that. We don't want that. We like our hat for the most part. I definitely like the new width of the jowls. They were definitely looking a lot wider. If it's hard to tell, we can jump back to an old version here, and you can see kind of what a big difference that makes. It also helps that we scaled up the eyes and a few more tweaks here and there that we've just made all together. But yeah, you know, I say this a lot, but like these little changes really add up fast, and they really do. So if you're feeling stuck and you don't know what to do on your sculpt, I recommend, you know, taking a screenshot and throwing it in Photoshop or something and flipping your canvas. Take a step away for like, you know, an hour, whatever you need. There's no like specific amount of time that you have to do it for. Then like just try to come back with a fresh pair of eyes and try to find some of these little errors that you didn't notice before. Like just keep doing that until it like starts to push further and further. And do what I just did there too, where you load in like an old sculpt, an old file, and just look at the differences that like these little things start adding up to. And you know, like you start on something like this. This is the sculpt of the goofy head from the first day. Here's the whole character. Like, wow, isn't that cool? So like, you know, it starts off, everything looks bad until it doesn't. And the head is still basically all the same exact shapes, like almost exactly the same, except just slight little tweaks here and there that got it to where it is today. So basic thing, and just pushed further and further and further until here we are. So it's not about like nailing it that first time. I don't think I've ever sculpted something like just nailed it immediately and been like, yeah, this is perfect. If I ever say that, someone can shoot me in the head, please. Because at that point, I will never grow. I will never get better. And that's definitely what I need, what I want. Well, let's see. How are we doing on time, gang? What are we doing here? We're getting pretty close to the 3 hour mark here. So I think that's gonna be a good place to stop. I mean, like these teeth are maybe bothering me a little bit, but I probably need to, you know, rest my eyes for a little bit, stop looking at this so much, so that I can come back and see all the junk that is actually wrong with it after a few minutes. Typically for me, if I walk away for like 10-15 minutes and come back, like I'll be able to see a lot of new stuff. But if I want to see it immediately, I'll just flip my canvas. That's the surefire way to notice everything that's wrong with your work. Let's see. I like the teeth, it's just that they read a little stupid from the front view. So I've been thinking about how I can fix that, and I haven't really come up with any great solutions to get them read well from the side and also the front. Nothing I've really tried works out too well. I don't know, maybe like rotating super hard, they start to stick out super far here. Just so they, I don't know. I don't like that either. I think I'll leave them for now, and I'll mess with them later. Cool. Well, we've done a lot of really good progress on this guy, I think. A lot of cool stuff. I'm gonna save him. Shave that goober. But yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out, guys. As I always mention here at the end of my streams, if you like the free stuff that I do here on my YouTube channel or streaming on Twitch or YouTube or wherever I am, if you like that free stuff, then you'll definitely like the paid content that I put a ton more work into. Seriously, I like work on these for like a month or two. I think I worked on this course for like a month and a half, and I worked on this one for two, for sure, 2 or more. This is my newest course, Sculpting Appealing Female Faces, Stylize and Appealing Female Faces. If that sounds like something that interests you, please check it out. And then I also offer one-on-one mentorships, which is, all of this is on my Gumroad, which is at the link below this video here. You should be able to find it. But other than that, I think that's everything. I think that's everything, guys. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Thank you for sharing, absolutely. It's really, I don't, like, I enjoy being able to share and everything, but I stream so that I can, like, get stuff done. I stream so that I can work on my characters and get as much done. The fact that I can answer some questions and just, like, show some of my processes is just, like, a bonus on top of that. So I enjoy just, like, having someone to talk to while I sculpt. Sculpting takes so long and it's so lonely. But yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out and not letting me be too lonely while I work on my stuff here. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow if you're around. I'll probably be streaming tomorrow, YouTube, Twitch, wherever. Follow me on the socials somewhere, and I'll post about it before I go live. Hopefully, I'll have a little bit more of a concrete schedule as well for the future. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But for now, we're kind of keeping it more fluid. But yeah, all right. See you guys. I'm gonna go eat some dinner. Have a great rest of your night and work on some cool stuff. All right. See you guys.